thinking about launching a podcast for your business, but the idea of the amount of work it takes to get it going feels pretty intimidating? Or maybe you're already, running a podcast, but you're always falling behind, you're missing your deadlines, you feel like you're drowning in work, and you wish it was just a little bit easier. Well, you're in the perfect place, because in this week's episode, we're going to reveal a specific strategy, a systematized process that will allow you to spend 5 hours per month on your podcast. And in doing so, launch an episode every single week in only 5 hours a month. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So let's jump in. Let's do this. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Passive Income Strategies and Systems Summit. I am here with Krissy Chin, a 7-figure online business coach who specializes in working less and enjoying business more, which is awesome. And today she's here to share with us her super streamlined and systematized approach for creating and launching podcast episodes, which I know there's going to be tons of you who really, really need this. And she's really got it dialed in. So I'm super excited about this topic. So welcome, Krissy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. The minute I heard about your topic area, I knew that our audience needed to hear about this. So before we jump into kind of how you've systematized and how that's changed your business and allowed you to work less and enjoy more, can you tell us a little bit about what podcasting was like before you had a good system and process in place? Because that might help our audience to understand and recognize if they're in need of a system themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that haven't started a podcast yet, it'll give you a little glimpse of what most people's podcasting is like when they get started. So I didn't, have all of the answers when I started. My motto is done is better than perfect. So it was like, all right, I have a microphone and a way to record, and I'm just going to go for it after, of course, dragging my feet, thinking it needed to be perfect. And I was like, look, I just have to get it done because otherwise I won't do it. So just started, I've redone my intro 3 times, what have you. So it didn't start perfect by any means, but I got started and had listeners. It was fun the first few, and then it started to get stressful because I really wanted to release an episode every week. And I think that's pretty standard for people. And it was really hard to keep up with, hard to manage. There's a lot to do if you're going to edit your episodes yourself. There's so much to do, then promotional materials, making graphics, blog posts, show notes. I mean, the list is endless for all of the things. And so for me, it was just an extension of my brand. It was another way for me to connect with people. I wasn't really into blogging. I tried that and just couldn't do it myself. And so I was like, you know what? I like to talk. I'm pretty good with video, feeling comfortable in front of a camera and a microphone. So I think podcasting is a way for me to be consistent. And then didn't realize, oh my gosh, with all of the other things that I'm doing, this is taking up so much time. I did have someone that was helping me edit in the very beginning, but still, they'd be like, Krissy, I'm waiting for the episode. I have things I have to do tomorrow and your episode has to air the next day. Okay, I'll get them to you. Or I had guests on sometimes, and then I did some myself. I'd be recording with my guest Monday and the podcast was going to air Friday, and then they would cancel on me last minute. And I would be too embarrassed to tell them well, you were this week's episode. So, now I'm stuck doing my own thing. So it was just really hard to stay ahead. It was really hard to manage it all without feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And it was a burden rather than this fun thing that I wanted to do that was going to support my brand.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course you never want it to feel like that. So a lot of crashing and burning on deadlines. You said you were working a lot of hours and they were kind of frenzied, ballpark. How many hours per week do you think you were working on your podcast?
I mean, still not a ton. So my whole thing, like you mentioned, work less, enjoy more. So I schedule about 20 hours a week for work and that's it. And I run 2 brands in those hours. So the reality was I just didn't have extra time. So just some things weren't getting done that needed to get done, but I would say that I've decreased the time. Now I spend 5 hours a month for my podcast and I release 4 episodes a month. So 1 episode a week, and they're about 40-minute episodes. So if I'm recording for 45 minutes with a guest, and I'm only working 5 hours, there's not much time doing other things. So I at least cut that, down to 1/3. I was probably doing 15 hours a month doing that, but it was stressful. Now I'm 2 months ahead. I relaunched 3 months ahead. I've stayed 2 months ahead since relaunching, and it's more fun. I'm doing what I love. So it's like work less, enjoy more. Part of the work less isn't always decreasing the work hours, but decreasing the work that you don't like doing so that it doesn't feel like work. Right?
Oh, absolutely. So not only are you working ahead so that if someone cancels, it's not going to kill your podcast that week, but you're working fewer hours, and those you are working, it's on the stuff you really, really love doing.
Yeah. It's showing up, recording, and essentially being done. I record a little intro. I create one little social media post after because everything is fresh in my head, and write down a little quote that's saying something really amazing about my guest. And then that's it. And then it gets passed along to the next step in the process for the next person to take over.
Oh, wow. I love that. So let's dive into that a little bit deeper because I'm really intrigued. So what are your go-to tools that you use in order to streamline this process of creating and launching?
Yeah. So pretty simple. I use Google Drive. So the folders that I end up recording with go in Google Drive. My notes are in Google Drive. So I use that. I use Acuity scheduling for my calendar. So now I have guests this season 3, I have guests every episode. So that has to get scheduled. That was a huge pitfall in the last my non-existent system was texting back and forth. So when can you meet? Oh, let me look at my calendar. Oh, I'm busy then. How about this time? And so it's okay, we need to streamline this process. I just need them to go to a calendar and schedule. So I use Acuity scheduling there. Calendly, is another popular one. What else do I use? I use Podetize for my editing. They now do my hosting and my editing. So I have this whole system with them. And then Kajabi, where I host my blogs and things like that. So it's super simple.
That is super
host
simple.
Your blogs. Yeah.
It's not like you have 22 tools. There's 4.
No. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay. So it can be easy. So I guess aside from the tools, I'm sure there's activities that are completed surrounding those tools, right? All the different parts of the process. So do you do that all yourself, or do you have a support team? And if you have a team, which roles did you hire out, and how do they help in this process?
Yeah. So I do have, air quotes, a team here. I have one virtual assistant who helps me with various things. And so I basically just trained her to take over the things that she could in the system, in the process. And then I ended up hiring a company called Podetize. And so we use their platform to upload everything. And then they take care of the episode editing, the graphics for marketing in various sizes, square, whatever the stories size is called, horizontal, whatever you need. They'll create different images. They'll create the audiogram. They create the blog post / show notes. They will upload it into my systems for me. So they have access to my Kajabi. They'll upload it in there. Now I'm hosting with them, but if you hosted with someone else, they would upload it into your hosting platform, schedule everything out. And then they also send my guest the links and graphics that they need the day that it launches. I have my assistant send stuff before, so they have it in advance, but they'll also send it that day. So between me, my virtual assistant, and the Podetize team, everything is done.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a huge amount of value, all from Podetize.
Yeah, and really affordable. That was another, when I was looking, so when my system broke, we were talking about this a little bit before, but my father passed away suddenly and I had to step back in my business. I had to take time to be with my family, and all of the plates that I was spinning essentially solo fell, and everything where I had automation set up or a support team to support me stayed standing and thrived. And so it was that point in time where I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I cannot keep up with the podcast. Like this just can't happen. So I literally had to stop putting out episodes, and took a few months and was like, okay, if I'm going to bring the podcast back, which I know so many, I'm learning more and more that podcasters, they started a podcast and then they stopped. They were like, I just couldn't manage it. So I knew if I'm going to come back, be consistent and not have it be stressful, then I have to have this system in place.
Right.
And so that just kind of fueled everything, me looking for like the support that I needed for it. And I was pricing out a lot of different people that were just one-off people that would edit and do things for you. And through my network, a friend of mine was like, I'm using Podetize. They're amazing. I was like, all right, I'm going to check them out. And because I purchased a bundle pack of episode edits, it's $99 an episode, which if you don't like, it's really affordable.
For everything that they're providing. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So you could maybe find someone who would edit your podcast for less, maybe $75 an episode, but likely they're only editing it, right? Yeah. They're not doing the graphics for you and the blog post and all of that. So then you're either going to have to do that yourself, or you're going to have to hire that out. And by the time you're, up at $100 an episode anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and especially like you said, you kind of fell into this system out of necessity, like you were kind of forced to, but I imagine now it opens up so much more freedom in your life that like, even if it's not a necessity, it's a blessing because you're able to really enjoy yourself or be with your family or work on some other fun project that you want to funnel your energy into.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And that's, I know that's why this summit exists, right? Yeah. And that's why I teach the things that I teach, because there is so much more to life. Like we all love what we do or we wouldn't be doing it. We're entrepreneurs. So like we have to have a passion and a drive for it, but there is so much beyond life that's enjoyable and you want to be able to do those things. So you have to have really good systems. You have to be looking at ways to automate the things that you can. You have to be open to hiring help and support. Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and just for the sheer amount of work that they're doing for you, that's really good. And I suppose even for the audience members who the revenue isn't that high yet, they could release an episode every other week until it starts bringing in some leads, right? And some business. And then they could move up to every week. Like I'm sure you can tailor it to whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, you could start with one episode a month. I would definitely say if you're start with less episodes and, get a feel for it. And then you can add more as opposed to, I'm releasing one every week and realize, oh, wait, this, this is kind of a lot of work, or you don't want to spend that much money and then you got to cut back. And then people are like, where did the podcast go? Like right. she was releasing every week. If you're using the system that I have, it will be manageable. Trust me, it will be manageable. It's more of like that cost, cost aspect. If it's not in the budget, absolutely. Just do one episode a month to start.
Well, and even and I always advise doing this too, learn to do it yourself first so that you know what it takes. And then if you hire it out and someone has questions, you know how to help them with the questions because you've done it before, right? But certainly don't stay in that space where you're killing yourself to get all the work done and overworking yourself. If there's a great solution for $99 an episode, I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah. 100% agree.
That's awesome. Okay. So if our audience wanted to go ahead and get started trying to use a process like the one you're using, how could they get started?
How could they get access to the system or what?
Or if they wanted to learn what you're doing and they're excited to do what you're doing, how could they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a freebie that kind of talks about these different things that we've talked about, kind of looks at the system a little bit. Also automations. So it gives recommendations for things that you can automate in your process. We talk about hiring. So I even go into depth a little bit more. Where can you find someone? How much is it going to cost? That type of thing in the freebie. And then what we talk about also that we didn't really talk about today is leveraging advertising in your episodes. And that's another huge way to help offset the cost for you, because we want your podcast to bring money into your business, and leveraging ads inside your podcast is a great way to do that. So I kind of just cover the surface on there in that freebie.
And I love that. So for those of you watching with us here today, I mean, one of the benefits of meeting with experts, like we are here in this summit, in this workshop is, Krissy's done the hard work of researching multiple options, figuring out which one is the best value for the price, maybe making some errors along the way, and then finally finding what works. So, shorten your learning curve. Instead of trying to figure it all out yourself and all the time and energy that goes into that, I know they say there's no easy buttons in business, but when you're linking in with someone who's been there, done that, that's the closest thing there is to an easy button, right? Is don't recreate the wheel. She's done all this research for you. You might as well just benefit from her knowledge, right? That you're willing to share that freebie with our guests. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for those of you interested in that, there will be a button somewhere around this video that says click here to get the freebie. So be sure to grab that. But I do know, Krissy, you said for those who are VIP pass holders or who decide to scoop one up after watching this video here, I understand you have a very high value gift that you want to share with them. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called the Scalable podcast system. And basically it's my system. So we've talked, about the system here, but you haven't really got the in-depth step-by-step system, what happens, where and when and by who and all of that. So it is my system broken down for you. I provide you with the standard operating process, in a flow chart. And then I give you that flow chart in Canva that you can tweak and make it your own. So if you want to tweak little things in your process, maybe you send a gift to your guests, which I actually do in mine, but I don't have it in the system. But I send a gift to my guests after. You could put that in there as a step. So it's totally modifiable for you to do. So I'll give you that entire process. Having an SOP, we call it, so a standard operating process, is really like your lifeblood of your system. It helps set the flow. It gives the step-by-step. It also provides a really good training tool for people that you end up bringing on. Maybe you do the pieces that I have a virtual assistant do. Maybe you do that in the beginning, but then when you want to have them take it over, it's like, all right, here are the things that you're going to have to do. So to give you that system, and then throughout the system, there's various things that I set up. I set up the scheduling platform. So I walk you through using Acuity scheduling and give you the pieces that you need to integrate in. I show you exactly where to plug in various things to set up the automations for that. So you can, of course, if you're using something like Calendly, you can just apply those principles to your scheduling platform. There's a document that I created to give my guests the information that they need for the episode so that they're prepared pre-episode recording and post-episode. And it's this really cute document that I made in Canva. And so I'm giving you that template, showing you exactly, highlighted in purple. Here's where you put your podcast name. Here's where, you can edit these little things. So it's super simple. Upload it into your Canva, which I'm sure a lot of you have already. Create your own and then just use it. And then I show you where to plug that in so that it can automatically get sent to your guests, so that they have that. And then, so there's just various templates. The notes, I call it my no prep cheat sheet notes for my interview, because I just want to show up to the, literally 4 minutes before my interview, have everything that I need right in front of me, hit record and go. because my time is valuable. And so I have this perfect system for even getting the things that I need into my notes, the bio, the topic, the freebie title, the link. So I have everything there. I can just get on camera with my guests like we are today and say, okay, perfect. Is this still your freebie you want to use? Perfect. Check. I've got your bio here. This is still what we're talking about. Good, good. Check, check. And we go and we record. So there's things like that I walk you through, give you the template, show you how to set it up, and make it your own. And so you can put that all into action.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So, I mean, it's so important, as you evolve in your business and as you start to scale, to live in your zone of genius and to either outsource or automate the rest, right? So, and Krissy's doing exactly that. And she's basically letting you plug right into her system and copy exactly what she's doing, like step by step, what to do, who does it, how they do it, what tools they use to do it. And all she has to do is show up 4 minutes before an interview, scan a document and go. Like,
you're right.
That's awesome.
Right. Don't tell my guests, right?
Maybe they'll want to use your system.
Right.
Maybe they'll be so enamored with, I would imagine just being one of the people who is featured in your podcast, they're probably super impressed and like, wow, she's really got her act together, right? Like everything's this well-oiled machine.
That is 100% the feedback that I've gotten. So I'll say, when I'll get on, I'll say, did you, take a look at the podcast prep document? And everyone's like, yeah, that was so organized. Like, you clearly have been doing this a long time. And I'm kind of like, well, not too long, but they're like, yeah, I can tell, like, you've got your systems in place. Like, I filled out the questionnaire, boom, there was the link to schedule there. So I have these little tricks in the system and there's a purpose and an intention as to what I am positioning where. So one little secret nugget into the system is that I have this questionnaire intake form where I gather all of the information that I'll need and I give you the exact questions that you can modify and show you how to put it in. But after they fill that questionnaire out, as soon as they're done and they submit, then they get the button to take them over to my scheduler. So I've done podcasts a lot of times where they have me schedule first, and then I get in my email at some point to give them all the information. And if my guests are like me, I'm a procrastinator. So, they're getting things last minute. They're having to chase me down, for various things. And I was like, no, that's not happening. If you want to be on the podcast, which I love having my guests on, you have to commit to giving me your information that we need to streamline everything. So we're not chasing you down right before the interview. I don't have your bio, all this stuff. So there's little things like that in the system and process that I explain why we're doing it the way we're doing it to save you and your team and everyone else headache.
And that's amazing. So they provide the information first and then they get to book the time second.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
And everything is all automated. As soon as they get that link for the intake form, everything is essentially set to automation with a couple little tasks for my virtual assistant before showing up to record.
That's amazing. So you guys, if you are producing a podcast and whether you're brand new and maybe you've never even filmed one before, or you're a seasoned expert, but you kind of feel like you're doing too much work with it. You could launch a podcast and on episode 1, you could come across as an absolute expert using Krissy's system, which is awesome. I love that. So that's only for the VIP ticket holders. So be sure to scoop up your VIP ticket if you want to make sure that you can grab her process and just plug and play. Right. And it's not just Krissy who's contributing to the VIP ticket. Multiple expert speakers are bringing high value gifts to the table, things they normally charge money for, that they're just contributing for free to this ticket because they want you guys to nail it this year. They want you to enjoy all the freedom that they're enjoying in their businesses by basically plugging into what they're doing and, cutting that learning curve, super short. Super short. I love that. So thank you so much for contributing that. I'm super excited to check it out myself, actually.
Thank you, Adrienne. It's been so awesome.
I love it. Well, it was such a joy having you on. Thank you for joining us. And so for those of you watching, just remember, the hour after this interview goes live, you'll be able to ask Krissy questions in the Facebook group. So if you have any questions, be sure to ask them there and she'll be sure to answer them for you guys. And I'm sure she's looking forward to connecting with you and helping you to nail your podcast creation and launch process.
Yep,
All right.
absolutely. Can't wait.
Okay. See you guys then. Bye.
You've been listening to the Impactful Entrepreneurs Show with Adrienne Hill, where we support coaches, course creators, and network and affiliate marketers to translate their big picture vision into actionable plans to build out their business efficiently. If you love our show, we invite you to visit buildalifebydesign.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover more helpful resources. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Thank you for listening.